You found a dead woman? He nodded, his jaw clenching and unclenching. She could smell it on him now, the faint odor of sick. Coffee? He looked so grateful, she almost felt sorry for him. They settled him in a white wicker chair facing the tennis court on the other side of the porch. His hands trembled as he held the cup to his lips, letting the scent seep into his nose and throat, eradicating the scene. How did she die? His eyes met hers. She was killed. Murdered? It was barely a whisper, but his words settled between them and there was no mistaking them. She had no head. She turned away, her own coffee cold, and went back into the house. Part 1. 1. Kate Parker's fingers found the ring on her left hand and twisted it slightly. Hank had slipped it on as they stood before the judge at City Hall only 2 weeks ago. He hadn't wanted to wait, promised her a lavish reception and honeymoon later in the summer at the house in Tuscany. She'd worn a light blue taffeta dress, something blue, and a pair of dazzling sapphire earrings that he'd given her the day before, something new. She wasn't so superstitious as to seek out anything old or borrowed. Anyway, Hank was all about looking forward, not backward. His suit was charcoal gray. His tie matched the color of her dress. The paparazzi captured them as they emerged, just before climbing into the limo. His arm was around her waist, pulling her toward him. She leaned into him, allowing him to lead the way. After an elegant dinner of oysters, caviar, and filet mignon, they'd gone alone to the penthouse. No one would believe it was the first time they'd slept together as the headlines screamed, "Billionaire mogul Hank Tudor marries assistant at City Hall." She knew what everyone was thinking. It was a far cry from his last wedding, which was why he'd wanted it this way. Or so he'd told her. Still, there was no reason to act as though this was the first time for either of them. She was in her mid-30s and had been married twice before, so she couldn't exactly fault Hank for his previous 5 marriages. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. As the limo moved swiftly along the highway toward Hank's Greenwich cottage, and the questions about the body found in the marsh between his house and the inn run by his 4th wife, Anna Kleinthe, Kate studied her husband's profile. The long patrician nose, thin lips, pointed chin. The skin sagged slightly along his jaw when he wasn't smiling, like now. But the rest of his face belied his age. He didn't know Kate knew about the facelift he'd had before he married his last wife, Caitlyn Howard. He didn't know Kate knew about a lot of things that were supposed to be secret. She wasn't sure what she'd gotten herself into by marrying Hank Tudor. A first wife who still made his shirts by hand while she imprisoned herself in a mansion, growing more bitter and older every day. A second who'd held his heart and his passion and then abandoned him. A third who died too soon. A fourth who was content running a small business and taking care of his children. And a fifth who was, well, how to describe Caitlyn? Impetuous, moody, sexy, young, an actress, but also a drug addict and a drunk. Hank's midlife crisis. What role did he want her, Kate, to play in his life? Was she the last in the long line of wives? Would his marriage to her satisfy his itch for all women? Hard to say. All she knew for sure was that she loved him, despite his flaws, despite his money. She'd been working for him for a little more than 2 years, the whole time he'd been with Caitlyn. He had loved the girl until she betrayed him. Kate dried his tears, listened to him, kept the media at bay so he could grieve. He allowed his work to swallow him whole, until that night in London when he